Welcome to Center Hice Productions. It is December 8th, 2023. First, please hit the likes and the subscribe down below in your right hand corner. Muchly appreciated. Okay, this is a review of last night's game. I would have had this tape out last night. However, there were some technical difficulties, so it's going to be out today. Anywho, LA was in town to visit the Habs, as I projected, and I'm sure many others figured this would not be a victory and we would be taken to school, and we were taken to school. We lost to them in the first match in LA 4-0, and oddly enough, they uh, reproduced the same outcome in Montreal 4-0 once again. And at least compared to game one, I would say tonight, the Habs, they had the effort. That made a difference. There's so many chances. They came up fairly strong in the first period, and just some bad bounces and things like that kept them off. But that LA team uh, very much proved easily. Um, they shut us down very easily. Um, Knew how to keep us out, and they showed where their depth is, and how much better of a club with uh, where they stand depth wise. They have a lot of depth through their lines. They're kind of a powerhouse. They are definitely one of the front runners, I would say. I'm not saying they'll win the cup. Are they close? Yes. Could they? Yes. But I won't say they will. I mean, there's still Vegas out there, and a couple teams such as that. But they're definitely in that echelon of teams that could win a cup. They're well built, well designed, and I like the way they play. To be quite honest, that style of knowing how to shut the team down, um, it works. Yeah, a lot of people don't find it flashy, but it works. It's a lot of championships have been won that way. So anyhow, the outcome was 4-zip. I don't think the Habs have to hold their heads down low on this one, because at least the effort was there. But it just shows you how far we went to school. They taught us what we need to do in the future to become a good team. I mean, there's a lot of defensive lapses still happening with our young defensive crew. I mean, I can look at Barron, his bloopers, and he has them quite frequently. But he's come a long ways. But getting blown by, it can't happen once you get to a certain level. This is why we're in rebuild state. Same as like, even though Gooley's one of our top defensemen, same with Matheson. Those two, Gooley and Matheson being our two top defensemen, they have these moments. And like watching how Byfield cut in on Gooley, to me, and yeah, he was flat-footed, but man, you got to take him out. You can't let him cut in, especially when you're at the talent level of Gooley. Gooley, to me, and he's my favorite. Now, don't take it wrong. I'm not trying to pick on him, because for me, Gooley is my favorite. So understand that. But I try to critique every player. Doesn't matter where I look at them, as my favoritism is. I go by work ethic, and Gooley happens to be my favorite, with Jack Eye following, and you know, Caulfield and Suzuki, guys like that tend to be, and Kovacevic, or whatever you want to call him, another good one. Anyway, those tend to be my favorites. But Gooley, to me, I see it plays like that when Byfield cut in on him. I'm sorry, take the penalty if you have to. That's a play. You've got to send a message. No, 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 it's not happening. And you get beautiful play by Byfield, mind you, but you can't let that happen. You got to take him out as a defenseman. You can't let him cut in the way he did. He just made us look stupid. So and it's bad when it's your top defenseman of the future. You get burnt that way. Anyway, we're going to go right to the stats very quickly because I'm going to make this a short video. Byfield, of course, was the first star, scoring 2 goals. And look at Byfield. If this doesn't remind you of where, or give you an indication where Slav could go, keep an eye. You watch the tape on Byfield. You look at Slav, and this is where Slav could get. So Byfield gets 2 goals, an assist for a +2. He's the first star. Anze Kopitar. This has been one of my favorite guys in the league for some time now. I love this guy, and he's a class act. Great leader. I always wished that the Habs somehow could have gotten him. Just been one of my favorite guys. Class act and what leadership. 3 assists +1. He's the second star, and he deserves it. And Drew Doughty, by far, for me, my favorite defenseman in the league. By far. He's my top guy. He's been my top dog for a while. And he shows exactly why. The intelligence, the IQ, the way he plays his position, just beautiful. And he has that offensive side, enough of one that he knows when to kick it in. And he was your third star, 1 goal, 1 assist with a +2. Scoring summary. We'll go over this very quickly. And like I said, don't take this wrong. This looks different than what it should have been. Well, that was the outcome. We had some bad luck because the Habs did come out in the first period, and they had some great opportunities. That just luck wasn't on our side. And then, as the period rolled on, LA took over, weathering the storm of the efforts that the Habs were making until it fizzled out and there was no pushback because everything the Habs were trying to bring, they was more or less we were chasing them. So that's how good LA is. So Drew Doughty scores at 8:13, assisted by Quinton Byfield, and assisted by, of course, Anze Kopitar. 17:46, Quinton Byfield scores again, assisted by Kemp and Kopitar. And in the third period, so we had Doughty, Byfield, and Byfield scores at 17:46. Yeah. And then it was we had 2-0 going into the second period. Quinton Byfield had scored his second goal on the power play. And of course assisted by Anze Kopitar at Fiala, which was a nice, pretty bing bing 1-2-3, nice goal, passing play. Third period, and this shows you the depth. Trevor Moore scores at 7:58, and that Byfield goal was scored in the second period at 18:15. Third period, Trevor Moore, assisted by Kevin Fiala and Drew Doughty. So, they made us pay on the power play they had. They shut us down, and they just kept. We were chasing them all night, and they made our defense look silly. Really, to be honest with you, and it's not due to a lack of effort. So, like game one was a lack of effort on top of everything, which compounded the loss. But they just showed you, no matter what the Habs were going to bring to them, with our lack of experience and where we are depth-wise, you're going to have the same outcome against this team. I think they were clearly showing us the message. Good luck with trying to change what you can try whatever you want. We're just too good for you. Okay, so shots were, we get killed. We got killed in the first game against them this way. 42-24. Hits 16-12, and these are both in favor of LA. Face-offs. We were doing well in the face-off department. We actually 35-23. Quite a good stat. Power plays, 1 for 1. And this is, for us, 0 for 3. And I get a kick out of it because I hear people saying, when you talk about the power play, talk about it realistically. And that even goes to Tony. And I love Tony Marinello. But the Habs power play wasn't good for 4 weeks straight. Okay? We went through like maybe 3 or 4 games that the power play was okay. not 4 weeks straight. So pay attention to what's going on. And I love you, Tony. So it's just I was watching your episode last night of well the power that we had the power play fixed for 4 weeks. No, we sure did not. We had it fixed for about 3 or 4 games, and then we fell back off the cliff with the power play. It is not fixed. It looked like we were headed in the right direction. We got movement on it. It's working. We are doing things better on it. It's not fixed. But don't say it's Habs are playing better. That's an entire month. Go look at the games in a month. We did not have the power play working for an entire month. So, that being said, um, yeah, it's so over that. That's just been a nemesis. Our special teams, to me, is it's something we got to continually work on. Then penalty minutes, they had 13, we had 9. We just could not take advantage of doing anything right uh, with our power play. We just couldn't get through. We couldn't break through whatsoever. Giveaways 21-8, which is surprising for LA. Takeaways 3-1 for LA. They took and they outdid us. And this is where the young kids got to improve. 18 in block shots, 18-9. They doubled us, and that shows you the difference with David Savard being out. And I'm not going to sit there and try to look like some people want to put on that little accent to somebody's name. In English, his name is David Savard. I speak English, so I'm going to call him David Savard. I'm not going to go Dabad Savard, okay, to look flashy, okay. But anyhow, this is where our problem is with our youngsters, and it's got to be. They can't. I mean, they got to take into account when a guy is out to injury. You guys got to step up to bat. So we don't have the David Savard to block the shots. So the Ghoulies, the Barons, and Kovacevic, he does well in that department. I can't knock him in that department. You get more effort out of him than you do a lot of the guys in blocking shots. And same thing with Matheson. They got to get it back into blocking shots. But you're going to have to start putting your body out a bit. And that's the thing. I mean, we should be able to, at this point in time, in our progression, because we have, I mean, look at Struvel's up there now. We've got Struvel. We've got Lindstrom up there. We've got, and Barron is in that group. And, Jack Guy's now sent down to Laval. I know some of it, we're not happy about it. But however, I think, I think he does have to realize there's a portion of his game that has to improve. So we have those guys, although to me, he's a piece we need. He could have been in Byfield's face last night. We don't have that pushback from this team, and that's why Jack Guy is important to us. But he does need to work on getting his defensive game stepped up a little bit. He's got competition now, and I know Struvel's playing all right. I can't say Struvel brings what Jack Guy brings because he doesn't. And anybody saying he does, you're out of your cop picking mind. And it's not a knock against him because Barron doesn't bring as much as Struvel brings. Lindstrom doesn't bring as much as Struvel brings. Although, they also, like Barron has weapons that Struvel can't come close to. Lindstrom plays a half-decent game. So that's just quite a battle for these youngsters for a couple of spots in the tail end of this. But my point being, this upcoming trade deadline should be where we should be able to unload David Savard now. But you look at this team, what have they learned down to defense? The problem is you're not blocking shots. You're not taking those extra steps, like what I seen last night with Barron, Gooley, and Matheson. If you're going to get blown by like that, letting guys cut in and not taking them out, I don't care. I mean, I know Gooley has got the speed and he's got enough physicality that he could have taken Byfield out. He might be smaller than him, but he's strong enough and he's got the speed. He could have caused problems and not allowed him to cut in. And that's my favorite player on the team that I'm criticizing on that one play. Now, I could criticize, the whole team could be criticized entire. You know who the bright spot in this whole game was? And he's starting to shine. And it's Slavkovsky. I have to commend this kid. Um, I actually liked line one. I liked the way line one played. I liked Slav, Caulfield, and Suzuki. They got something going there. They just happened to run into one of the best teams in the league. That's hard to do when you're going up against their top line. And I don't like that structure. I think this is where a good coach changes that up. If you want to try to get, and especially when you're at home, you've got the advantage of making that happen with your line setup. I think a good coach, I know it's gone this way in NHL, that everybody got into this new system of playing line ones against line ones, line twos, line. Where did that come from? I don't get it whatsoever. Strategically, if I'm a coach and when I coached, I'm putting my checking line on line one. I'm going to have a good enough checking line to take on line one. Then I'm putting line one on a weaker line on the opposite against the opposition to try and get cash in on their openings. Can somebody please in the NHL figure this out? There's good enough coaches. Come on, there's Brindamores, there's and St. Louis is learning. Um, there's several guys in the league that come on. Don't tell me you can't figure this out. Whoever, why it seems like, do we got to follow the leader in this? One team does it, so the rest of the league follows suit. That doesn't show intelligence to me. That shows that you got a bunch of followers. Be a leader as a coach. Common sense. You put a checking line on their top line. This has got to change in hockey. I mean, come on, it's obvious. If you're going to follow suit, you're actually conforming to your opposition's strength by doing line one on line one. If they've got the money and they got the star players, they're going to win because you're wasting your line one because they don't compete. Like, I mean, you look at, let's just use examples. You look at McDavid and Draisaitl. If you're going to put Suzuki and Caulfield against them, you're going to lose. You're talking about two of the top four top scorers in the league on the line. You're not going to compete with that, and you're not going to allow the Suzuki line to produce. That's common sense. Guys like Scotty Bowman, the list goes, Jacques Demers, Jacques Lemaire, Larry Robinson when they coached, Bob Gainey when he coached, had the common sense. Claude Riel. They all had the common sense. Pat Burns. To understand the game, you do not. Montreal for some time now, probably since the early '80s, we haven't had players to that level anymore. Mats and Aslan being the last of elite caliber scoring. So we've had to rely on defensive structures. And even though we're going into an offensive style, there's nothing wrong with that. The 70s teams in Montreal were offensive teams. The Guy Lafleurs, the Jacques Lemaires, the Yvon Cornwalliers, the Richards, the Beliveaux, those were stacked offensive clubs. Steve Schatz. But they still had a defensive unit. Bob Gainey, Doug Jarvis, Mark Napier, or Nyrop being on the right side. You had, a couple of switches on the right side, but you always had Gainey and Jarvis, and then it became Gainey and Carbonell, and then Nyland. That was like the perfect defensive line, and they were always utilized against the first line. Come on. Can somebody in the NHL be a leader and use their brain cell? I would expect someone like a Brindamore to do this because he's so intelligent and gritty. I would expect that would be common sense. Even this, I can't remember LA's coach's name. However, he's that style, and he showed you that brand last night of the grittiness. I like his style. Anyway, it's a time. Don't conform. It's like if you try to conform to putting your best line against Toronto, 9 times out of 10 that ain't going to work. They can outscore you. You have to roll, especially if you're at home. That's usually how hockey. You got the last say on line changes. You can. They want to put out their line one. You put out your line. Your check. You build a top checking line. You put out your line three. Well, usually was line three. I say that because line three was always a phenomenal line in Montreal for some time because it was really not looked at as. It really wasn't looked at as a line three. It was just a different line. That was a specialty line of shutdown guys, and we got to conform and get back to that. I think that's the missing component. If you know you're not a team that is going to have the top superstars in the league, then you're going to have. You can come out with a fast team like Montreal used to with the Flying Frenchman, but you still got to use a bit of a defensive style, in a checking lineup to go against that elite superstar line. That's how you win games, not putting your top line who can't match their top line. So, someone please, for God's sake, clue into this. Anyway, with that being said, I'm sorry I had ranted a little bit. I just get so sick of seeing it. I even got, like I said, I get sick of seeing our defensemen there. What have they learned from Savard? I didn't see any of it. And I've seen that being a problem. While you got Savard, you learn from him. These kids got to start learning to block shots. You don't let people blow in by you. This is where I see problems with our coaching, and it's not the head coach. I told you where I see the problem. I see our problem in our special teams coaching, and I see a problem with our defensive coach. I don't care. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job. I think there's better. I think you need somebody at the caliber uh, that's not green behind the ears to coaching. And I think you need somebody to lead enough on defense, like a Larry Robinson, to show these kids how you shut down guys. And I think that's the problem. And they also were specialties at killing penalties. So I think for Montreal, like I said, why you do not bring in, I'd love to see LeCavalier and Carbonneau behind that bench with backing up Marty, because Marty's an excellent head coach. But I'd like to see guys like that who where Carbonell can help him on the shutdown, and also Carbonell was a bonus on the power play, so he would be able to run that power play unit beautifully. He proved that when he was coaching. He was also a great head coach. And if you got somebody to the caliber of a Robinson, he's gonna show you how that defense is supposed to work and teach these kids properly. And it's not a knock against Robitaille. I just think Robitaille needed more time into gaining experience in the coaching field. And I'm sorry, I think there's a bit of a lack of a communication. I don't know what it is, but the defense are not learning enough. You can see it in the games. There's not enough progression of where they should be climbing a little higher. And I don't think they're getting experience, but I think there should be progression in the way they perform. It's the same thing with Alex Burrows. Seems like a nice guy. He has not been able to make that power play work consistently. 4 or 5 games out of 20 some odd games. Come on now, that's not a fixed power play. Okay, so and again, he was green behind the ears too when he got brought in. Back when I believe he was Claude Julien, he was brought in at some point. No, it might have been Ducharme. Yeah, I think it was Ducharme. Anywho, that being said, these guys are not qualified to be back there. And Marty being a young coach, he's a phenomenal coach, but he needs better assistants back there. And I hope they address this in the off season because it's showing up in our games. And somebody's got to be smart enough. Why not be the one guy who says, I'm going to be different than everybody else? It's time to bring back common sense to the game because the game's taking a direction that is not so cool. We're losing common sense. We're losing the defensive style game where defensemen are supposed to do their job and be able to, hey, if you take a penalty, you take a penalty. You don't have to, coach doesn't have to freak out if you take a good penalty. such as last night had a goalie taken out Byfield and got a penalty. You could live with it because he's doing his job. Now, does the league, in my opinion, the league needs to get back up a few steps and let defense play defense. However, the game is what it is. It's just a matter you're going to have to suck up sometimes penalties like that if they're good penalties. Um, but however, we need to address this. And the same thing, somebody stop following the trends of everybody matching their best guys against their best. That's stupid. Because if a team's got the money and they got the better offensive weapons, they're going to beat you. And then you've wasted your first line. But anyway, last night, I was very proud of the line one. There was a good effort from much. Actually, a lot of players played, put the effort out. Like Galley had a good game, effort wise. Pearson had a good game. Evans had a good game. You can look at this. Andy had an okay game. But however, I still say anyway. There's things that how he's takes some that he's over his slump. No, he's not. An open net, you're not. You haven't cracked the barrel yet. Um, so don't give me that. And the consistency's not there. Dvorak's been playing hard and playing well, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. But anyway, that's Slav. Slav has been one of their best players, oddly enough. He's coming along nicely, and he does fit with Caulfield and Suzuki. And I think if they let him stay with them, he'll progress properly. He needs to be with elite guys. It's evident. But however, my word, at least this wasn't an embarrassment of effort wise. I give the Habs that much credit. They fought. They just were outplayed in every department. The maturity and the leadership from that LA squad was just outstanding. What more can you say? But for two different goaltenders being used with LA in each game, and they still shut us out 4-0. Come on, you got to be able to crack one in there, and that's why I say our power play needs work, and we need a proper power specialist coach for that. We don't have to address it right now, off season when these contracts are up with the coaches. Address it over the summer. But I think at the summer we're at a point where we should be turning a corner. That's kind of the midway point. I think you got to address your coaches at this point and put better quality there to assist Marty, because Marty's doing a wonderful job, but he needs some help there. And I give Lithkowski a little more credit than the other two because he seems to be the little bit of experience helping Marty, but they need more of it, not him alone. So, that being said, thank you for joining me. We will catch you in the next game. Who is it again? I should know this. I think it's the Islanders that we're playing Saturday night. So, where's Puck Drop Burst? Here at Central Hice. You've seen it. Please follow, hit the likes. Let's try to hit 150 views. Like I said, sorry. Usually I would have had this out last night, but we had technical glitches, and it was just far too late to deal with them. So, thank you for joining me. Leave your comments. Tell me what you thought. And tell me what you think of some of the things I'm discussing here. I just think, man, a real good coach could make a name for himself if he got his team back to utilizing, a defensive line to go up against those top lines of the opposition. So, thank you for joining me. We will catch you in the review of the Islanders Habs game, and we'll see what happens there. Should be an interesting game. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a tough game because they're a good, steady defensive team, and if they got Sorokin in the net, they got experience too. So you got to be ready. Anyway, thank you for joining me. We will catch you in the next episode, and God bless you. Have a great day, and we shall see you in the next episode.